Are we ready? George Abel, 1238.85. Howard Cherry, 936.71. Jared Arsenal, 973.13. Joe Bird, 963.24. Gloria Garcia, 512.50. Who? Wendy. Gary Clement. How do I say that? Clement? Clement. 997.36. 997. 997.
Oh, I thought you said 87.
Wayne Demers, 707.91. Kiki Donna Small, 105.28. Daniel Frederick, 57.26. Ken Gothia, 974.92. Andrew Gray, 516.69. Andrew Greenbaum, 378.60. Kip Kaiser, 595.59. Michael Carey, 518.33. Heather Lindsay, 575.76. Joyce Miller Boyd. Rachel Marbury, 44.32. Wayne Robinson, 802.58. David Roy, 12.16.09. Jeremy Smith, 560.60. Kathy Santalea, 578.95. Karina Catalina Tennant, 4.17.02. Joshua Turner, 150.61. Olivia Wall, 44.32. Janice Ware, 701.74. Horace Woods, 1154.97. Daphne Watch, 557.22.
Total of $16,280.56.
Who? Yeah. No, now we talk, I know. I'm giving the truth. You wanna do something this time?
It's up to you, I don't want you to be, I don't want you to.
You want them both, or want me to do one or the other? I'll let you do the big one.
You want me to do the check?
Here's a phone in front of it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Christine Patch, 442.26. Christine Bellinger, 653.90. Michael Greeley, 604.38. Mark Turner, 486.28. Brandon Worcester, 445.09. Stephanie Lazat Soto, 381. Joyce Kegel, 335.95.
Total of $3,348.86.
Total $19,629.42.
Oh, you do good.
All right, ready?
No.
CG.
Agreed.
Anyway, you're just a bill guy.
He wanted me to read, so.
PB Trucking, $9,382.26. Carol Bellevue, $100. Ben's Uniforms, $248. Found Tree Medical, $10.96. Brentwood Ladies Auxiliary, $225. Center for Occupational Health, $130.50.
Where's the?
Put your dinner right here for the lady.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Done the meals or something.
Yeah.
You get Center for Occ Health?
130.50.
Yep. Richard Chamberlain, $200. Chapel Tractor, $406.62. C&M Cleaning, $12.50. Farm Star, $612.77. Doug Cowie, $200. Wayne Demerit, $135. Eversource, $471.22. Exeter Locksmith, $810. Heather Gilbert, $100. Granite Group, $15.27. Great American Financial, $317.09. Carbon Oil, $378.94. Health Trust, $11.54. Joyce Kegel, $100. Lisa McDonald, $200. Thomas Clark, $100. David Modell, $200. Mitchell Municipal, $629.64. New Hampshire Fish and Game, $384. Ichi Automotive, $540.22.
Yes, for.
Northeast Electrical, $54.84. North of Boston Media, $60.75. Belmont Networks, $385. Dragon Planning Conservation, $4,230.
We'll get it done. I'm not worried about it.
SAE treasurer, $185,000. Security team, 200. Southward Milton, 1345.53. Department of Safety, $47. Stratum Tire, $180. UniFirst, $26.47. Elma Davey, $100. Ballot, $352.41. Verizon Wireless, $571.40. Waste Management, $3,364.65. WG Mason, $519.84. Thompson Routers, $330. Cal's Wages, $200.
$214,486.90.
Excuse me.
We have 5 rec checks. We had overtime in the police department, 11.5, and fire department, we have 10.
She did. No, she's not moving. This side of the table, she's not gonna make it over here.
Okay, as you can see, tax receipts have started. They make up the lion's share, that's $397,000. As a result, we started increasing the balance. The last CD matured last week, we got $2,000 of interest off that. And once we get ahead of the game, I'll start doing CDs again.
See ya. Chip.
Good evening. Good evening.
Okay, first up, 73A Scrabble Road, Norman Lynch, and this is electrical permit for service. '99 Prescott Road, Brentwood, Andrew and Lori McClure. This permit is for a portion of the finished basement that hadn't been previously permitted. So it had come to my attention, and there's a straight fee listed here. I don't know that I'm looking for any fines, but if the board feels that I should, I can add them to it. As I say, the work was done without a permit. And so at this point,
Is it up to
It's good,
snuff
right? It's
or?
good.
well, I have to go and
Look at it.
look at it, but of course I can only see what I can see, I can't tear it apart. So I'll look at some of the safety items, electrical, smoke detectors, so on. I've also put some conditions on here, what it can't be used for. So,
How long is the addition on it?
to be honest with you, I don't really know. The assumption is, a few years they had a relative that needed assistance, and an elderly relative, and they kind of made a space. Next, we have 12 Wilson Way. And this is Tony Pacitti, I think it is, Pacitti. And this is for wiring in a finished basement room. There'll be long wires in there. Some of those basements down there have 10-foot ceilings. Next we have oh, no we don't. Do we have a new road in town? Godfrey Lane?
No.
I
231,
don't think
231.
so. Yeah. Wrong town. Here's
You
your
took a
check.
check.
Can we keep the check?
Free monthly.
Oh, they tried taxing us a couple years ago, didn't they?
So, light night on permits.
Any new updates on,
Okay, on,
some of our property?
so on,
I'll put it through that way.
374, I think I got that right, 374. I had made contact with Mr. Ali and, I talked to him on the phone on Friday. I couldn't get down here Friday morning to sit with him while he took his water sample. But we discussed that he was there on site and would wait a few minutes in case he had a chance to get there. So his water sample should be taken. He had to run his water because it had been sitting for so long, so. Went over the procedure with him, how to clean the faucet, take the aerator off, alcohol, then let it run again, so on. So we should have that back. And as I said last week, the soil came back, it passed.
Okay, so he's good to go on the soil, how about the site itself?
So the wood and debris around the house, that was a fire hazard, in my opinion, has been cleaned up. As far as finishing up all the restrictions or violations he had on his letter, you recall the week before last, he made a request to have the septic and the plumbing verified at the time he rented. And you had said that what you would do was find out what the results would be from the test, and then make a decision after that. Either that or we start, we file an order in the court.
And so the only thing we're waiting for is the water, basically.
Just waiting for the water results, which,
So wait on that. Do we have another one?
Smith Road.
Smith or?
Smith Road.
and,
DES, right?
yeah, DES, and again, as I brought up last week, one entity had got back to me and the other had not. However, it was a consensus of the person that reported back, that they walked the site jointly and that there was no violation that they were gonna pursue at this time. Either the oil contamination, there were some suggestions for it to be cleaned up, but not for an actual written violation.
What about the sewage?
And the same thing, they had, there was nothing for that, and the rest of the debris in or around the water, they didn't have, how do you phrase it, you didn't have a dog in the fight.
No appetite to address it. What's the measures when you get back from one more person from you guys?
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna call me because the other gentleman relayed, I was hoping I'd get something from one of them in writing, but I have not. It was a phone call.
And what's our recourse as far as the town? The TVs and the sewage and the oil and all that other stuff?
So, basically, on our violation list, we're going back to the junkyard, the zoning ordinance for junkyards, because I can't pronounce for 560 or something like that. And also the state RSA. So response. So now we get that whole process again, where we give them another time frame to respond, and or we send an order to the court for fines for the violation.
And they're not being used right now, that we are? Or did you see any
I
activity?
did not see anything. We have, two brothers that have frequented the property, and each one occasionally will come to me and say the other one is back where they're living a squalor, but I don't have any real record of it.
And does that violate the building ordinances or not?
Well, certainly if they're actually living in the trailers, and there are, again, a minimum of 4 on site.
And I know the signs that were posted were taken down, those are gone. So I'm not sure if we should post them again or not, but then they're gonna just take off the signs.
Yeah, I mean, you could post all 4 vehicles, all 4 trailers, and take pictures of it, because that's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to make sure you set up a way to get on the property.
Happy, joy. Okay. What else we got?
That's all that I got I have nothing new at this point.
And then you got that thing that we're gonna give to the budget committee, so he wrote up something that
Yeah,
just showed
I'll
the
share,
kid.
I'll share with
So
you.
he'll share it to you that we can bring back to the budget committee on your budget.
Are you here tomorrow?
Actually, I am in Concord tomorrow.
Thursday?
Thursday I'll be here.
I'll
All
share it with
morning.
you. I'll share it with you Thursday morning, and then we'll forward it on to the budget committee, so they have
And then
no
we'll give you an
information.
explanation so I know what I'm doing. When I
Well,
show
you
up,
can- you
so
can
I'm
do
not
that
turning
now
deer
if
in
you want.
headlights. So you can explain to me why the budget came out the way it did, and I can understand why the salary is the way that you guys are looking for. And it was fully approved last week, full board, everyone approved it?
Yeah,
And was there any,
I was late, so I didn't,
alright, so it was 3,
3-0, I
okay.
think, right?
And anybody wanna, how did we come up with a 10% increase? So I can sell that or explain that?
It's pretty much all in a packet. Hopefully you have the same one that I had given out, but basically, it talks about average salaries around the area, and populations on all those towns run anywhere from 3,900 to just under 10,000. Most of them in the 4,000 to 6,000 range, similar to Brentwood, which is around 47 or 48. And basically it was an average rate. And I checked on other towns and budgets that they had, amounts that they put out for their building departments, and this comes in lower. And just for the knowledge, I mean, we already did this, voted on it last time, but in the first couple of years I was here, I actually didn't ask or request any pay hikes. I just kept increasing hours because the job grew, and then as the responsibilities grew, we developed into something totally different than just building inspector.
And those,
I think basically it was because he brings in more than what his salary is. I think that
I
was
pointed that out at
think
the
that
budget
was
committee, and they,
reason. Mostly, wasn't it Andy that we,
It was that and the fact that the job's developed to something more than just building inspector.
cause he's doing code enforcement, what's the other ones?
He's pretty much clerk of works for anything we do.
right.
Yep.
He's, any building that the town does, he's overseeing now, he's overseeing building maintenance.
And that's soup to nuts, from RFP to completion of the job to ensure that it's all within code, so.
Yeah, you kinda have, you were doing something else too.
Oh yeah, I have a whole list. But
Code enforcement.
You were code enforcement, but there was another position you were doing too, I can't remember what it was. I know you did something over with the rack.
Well, that's all property maintenance.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's doing that as well, so that's another position we have to fill somewhere along the line, we can do that.
For other facilities,
you know, a lot of towns,
New construction.
a lot of towns break it down where they hire, they have a code enforcement, they have a facilities manager, they have
Yeah.
all these different things. And, you know, some, small positions, 15, 20 grand, some are 40, 80,000. Pretty much, we're just trying to get along here. Like I said, I didn't take pay increases in the beginning, trying to build the department to get here.
And you've been here
And
3 years, 4 years?
For December 2014. And then just for your other point, Bob, give or take, it rounds it off, but right now, the department has put out, just under, well, 51,600, and I've brought in to date, rounded, 53,000, so, right now, the salary's paid for and, part of some of the other fees.
But I point out, remind you that the budget committee didn't feel like that was pertinent information.
Well, I think the department
Because
was
other-
split too.
But what they said was, you can't compare to other departments, cause other departments don't bring it up. But what I pointed out to the budget committee was that, he brings in more revenue than he's getting in salary, number one, and number two, if you wanna remind everybody, that the previous person in that position was getting a percentage of permit revenues,
90%, right?
90%.
Right, yeah.
And so if you wanted to do that kind of a comparison, you could look at what he brings in revenue and what the 90%.
So with that calculation,
So based on that
He's
revenue
still
calculation,
a bargain for what we pay.
if he was paid 90% of fees, he'd be projected to take home 63,600 for 2018.
Anything you wanna say?
I told you, I'm just trying to help the
what's the
town.
salary?
He's requesting 59, I believe, 59 and
I
change
think
for.
that's-
Oh, I have things about the budget somewhere.
The amount requested, just the salary,
Yeah.
it's 50,979.
You know, there's more room on the other side of that paper.
My head's smaller and smaller, so I have magnifying glass on
Would
my
you like a
head.
piece of paper? I
No,
can hold it.
this is how I do all my notes, cause then it sticks in my head. Just write it down. Okay. Alright,
Got enough?
I think I got enough to
Okay.
help me understand what we're doing.
I'll come to
what we're
support you if you need.
doing. I'm sure
Still
I'll
an
need
Uber
something.
driver, I'm still, as of next week, I'm still an
You're
Uber
still an
driver, so, yeah,
Good deal, anything else?
I think that's all that I have.
thank you.
Good deal, thank you.
I'll come and see you Thursday.
And
Very
we're
good.
gonna act on previous minutes.
Oh, I have an amendment.
Sure.
I wasn't here, so I'm gonna be abstaining.
Okay, I would like to amend the recreation budget, not the budget, but to say that he makes $18 an hour and the new budget is $19 an hour.
Set up the
And
percentage.
I think, do we need to vote so it'll be in the minutes, cause I asked for it to be in the minutes.
The amount, you mean?
Yeah, the hourly wage, I think it should be in the minutes, so can we vote on that, or?
We can just put it in. can't we?
Well, I asked that and it wasn't put in, so that's why I amended it. I just think it should be in there for people to know.
I'll second the
Clarification.
minute as amended.
Anything else to amend to it, or is that it?
That's it, I just want the hourly.
All in
wage.
favor for that?
Aye.
And I'm gonna abstain, cause I wasn't here.
I was with us on it.
Oh, I won't be in
And do
here.
we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain. Do we have non-public now?
Thanks.
You wanna do the budget straight away?
Yeah.
To highway?
$15,000. That's why we should take that stuff out of their budget and have your own line for it.
Next year,
Do that for next year.
Next year.
Take everybody's insurance out and put it in the whole line. 'cause
Put
the
it in
budget's-
Also, people, contractors who come in, won't know what town
That
they're
makes it so much easier for AP too.
Give me credit for that when I'm not here, so you can say that was my idea.
Oh,
Submit for the bonus
Oh,
if you
thanks.
can.
Like it could be one of those
But
that
the
comes
salary is 65.
down in by commercial drive or
Let me see
something.
what that
There's nothing changed, everything's pretty well level funded,
you
right?
didn't give yourself a raise, right?
What's that?
You didn't give
I
yourself.
didn't know.
No.
I
you
did,
didn't.
hold on, let me go to that.
It's over here, on the last page. He gave him 3%, so he didn't take one and didn't give it.
I didn't, myself, I left it alone, I didn't do anything there. Want me to say the names or?
No,
Okay.
and I'm just gonna, I know, I had Karen run a check to see, and the 64,929.80, that salary was based on there was a max that we looked up when we looked it up last year, and it was actually 64,896 for the position. And this year it would be 65,775.36, cause they have a 1.3% increase in the max of that position for
I thought that was.
the road agent.
I bought the stuff from last month.
Yep. And then he ended up getting $8,000 bonus last year because that was voted on at town meeting,
Right.
to give him an $8,000, you know, they wanted to make it up to the 73, which was 729,298.80.
That was actually done here though.
But
Town
they-
meeting was giving him 23,000, whatever it was, and when he sat down with him and
Yeah,
Diane.
and then we had to figure out what the max of
And he
the
did that,
position was,
yeah,
right?
so
And
that
so
was
what we
actually
did is
done
we
here.
paid the max amount of the position, and then we did
Yeah,
$8,000
that was
bonus
done.
to get him to
But
the,
that was here, wasn't it, town meeting, that was done at this.
so the town meeting
Right.
voted to get him up
The
to.
23,000.
The 23,000 had to be added to his salary
To the salary.
at the
so-
town meeting, and then we had to figure out how to make it work.
Right.
And so to make it work, we went to the max of what the position pays. And because they voted to give him the 23,000, there was a difference of $8,000. So that $8,000 with the 23,000 added to the salary gave him the bonus to get him there. So we capped out the salary at the max. The max of the salary position is 65,775.36.
I thought it was I thought it was what is it in this budget, the 60.
He has in the budget everyone's together, so he's got.
No, he
No,
has
no,
it on the-
no.
There's a page in the-
There's a
there's a page.
page at the other.
He's asking for that for his
Right,
salary.
And that's-
but he's asking for the $8,000 bonus though.
Right.
Right. You have to, that was voted at town meeting, so you have to give them that every year. Or put it in his salary. I mean, it was voted at town meeting, that's what the people want.
That was last year's budget though, now we know what the we didn't know at the time of the meeting what the max of the position pays. The bonuses, we agreed to the bonus last year because they agreed to give him $23,000. One of the things that when they got up at the meeting was that he gave up $17,000 because he retired from the police department. But again, and that was one of the discussions that we had, was he retired from the police department, he didn't give up $17,000, he didn't lose it, that was he retired from the police department. They bumped that into also giving him an increase, and that was what that town meeting said, they wanted to give him $23,000 in recognition, and that was considering the police department at his retirement, to factor that into the budget. When we did the calculation, we also have to figure in what's the position pay. The position max this year is $65,775.36. So I would think in order we would pay the max of the position if somebody wants to ask at town meeting if they want to give them another bonus, that's something we can consider.
Well, the way I read the minutes from the town meeting, you'd have to either take that 23,000 and add it to his salary, but he was the one that decided to take it as a bonus, but he needs to, that money should be paid to him every year. You might not like it, but that's what the people voted.
What are your thoughts? What's the board's thoughts? I think that the max of the position is what the position, the max of.
Now, how do we get that,
I
what's that maxing you got? What do you
Because
got?
she
That's
went
based
through the
on-
reporting wages.
That's
Karen
based
went
off of
through.
the NHMA salary survey, so they put it out there and they,
But I I think you have to take what he was getting paid last year and add that 23,000 to it. And that's what his, just because the base pay is what they say, I don't agree with it.
So would it be total of 72,929.80? Just what's.
So if they had voted at the town meeting to give them,
100,000.
100,000, you would say we would own that $100,000
Every year, that's what they voted.
It wasn't to put that on every single, you can't vote to pass it on.
I didn't take it that way, I just figured it was gonna be what it is and then.
And every year you would get a performance bonus.
Whatever. That's the way I took it, that's the way I figured it.
And then if that, you know,
When I
and
figured
I
this
guess
out,
we'd have to come up
I
with some
didn't
type of
actually, I
standard
didn't even have
for
the
performance
bonus
bonuses,
on here,
performances.
I just figured figured up to 52 weeks and what I get per week, and that came to 64,929.80.
So that's what you want for a salary?
Right, plus an $8,000 performance bonus. For a total salary of 72,929.
80.
Yep. I'm not a baseball player yet, but.
That number's off, cause he's got $729,298.80. Is that okay with you, Phyllis?
Well, that's pretty good, that's good, yeah.
'Cause that's the number I'm looking at.
You got $729,000.
Yeah,
It
that's.
says 929,
I
it
don't
says
know.
729,298. You got $729,000.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
72,929.
Yeah,
I got your number, that's a good number, listen.
But I'm also looking at-
72,
Mine's different than yours, I got, see, you got a different whole page.
I have a whole
You
different.
don't even write same, yeah, he does. Yeah, you don't even part of the group, just,
Which is
yeah.
probably correct.
Probably right, it is.
It is correct.
Yeah, we get the
So
big
I don't
one.
know why you guys got all those.
I haven't got
huge
the,
numbers.
I haven't got the colored pages.
I have the right numbers on mine.
See, I,
Yeah, I see $729,298.
yeah, that's the one.
I don't have
You
one
like
in
cut
calculation.
copy.
And 80 cents, yeah, that's right, yeah.
So it's,
Am I missing a page somewhere?
No, I got
okay, so
you.
we got 20,
I got the print, I got the colored pages.
929.
Maybe 17 copies.
So I'm not able to make an assessment since I have just.
You got the right
numbers.
You got the right calculation?
I think that's
I
right.
don't have that calculation.
Yeah, see, I have the one that you emailed us has the right calculations on it.
But the printed one
Maybe
does
that's what
not.
I did.
I got
So
this,
really,
I got this from you as an email.
See, I was thinking that we were.
Yeah, that whole number is fine.
So he made these copies
I
last
don't know
week,
the
and
numbers,
Christine
but
brought
yeah, let
us
me
a
get you on
bunch of
the
copies.
page.
Well, the one you emailed me has the
Do
right.
you want this
Right.
copy?
I have my.
Oh, you have the email?
I printed it out.
That's what they're looking.
What's everyone else's thoughts
For what?
on whether they keep an $8,000 bonus?
I think we have to do that.
I think you
mean,
have to do
I
that.
think when they vote that at that meeting, we still have to look at what's the salary for that position. And my thought is the maximum salary position for his position is $65,775.36. I don't have a problem maxing out the position at that much. Because that's what the going rate is for his position.
That's, yeah.
But I think at the town meeting, they voted to give him that much money last year. I don't know how you
It wasn't for a
lock a
year.
budget going forever indefinitely.
Well, it is, my opinion, it is going for a year. It's that budget that year. But I've never worked a job where I've taken a pay cut.
After.
Well, that's why I looked at it as the $8,000 bonus.
Right. But still, that
Right.
was part of his salary in 2018.
Right.
If you remove that from 2019's budget, that's a pay cut.
What do we make that bonus contingent on? Is it a performance bonus, or how are you doing it? And then what do you tie to it for performance?
That's something that we should have looked at last year. And we haven't.
Well, last year we were required to give them, because the town mandated that we give it to them. Going forward, if you're gonna have a bonus, there's gotta be something tying that bonus to performance or something. There's gotta be a reason that you give them a bonus.
I agree.
It shouldn't
Well,
be just
that's
shouldn't be
the
just
way
an
you-
entitlement.
I agree.
At least that's my,
So maybe we need to set the parameters this year for what the performance bonus
what's the
would
rating?
be and what,
It has to be
how
the
would we
8,000.
rate that performance? That's something that we were remiss then in that. So we're gonna continue the bonus, we have to set parameters for the bonus, and we have to set what the overall bonus is gonna be. Is it gonna be $8,000 a year? And if it's gonna be $8,000 a year, is it gonna be contingent on what? Is it gonna be contingent on performance, and what are those parameters? And I
It's
think we haven't done
contingent, it's
that.
contingent on the
On what
minutes
the
from
town-
town meeting.
But the
That's
town
what the-
meetings were for last year's budget. It
No,
doesn't,
I
it doesn't
think
burden
if
the
you
town
ask,
going forward.
ask the lawyer, I disagree with you, once they
Do
vote.
you have the minutes, right? What does it say?
Oh, I just haven't.
And I'm gonna engage Butch, cause he raised his hand, so.
I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I have not been to a lot of town meetings in the last 10 years, but I was at last year's. And I believe you're mischaracterizing what town meeting voted. I believe they voted to add a specific amount
To his salary.
to the salary line item for the highway budget and asked that the selectmen direct that to increase the road agent's salary. The board may not like what the town meeting did, but that's what the town meeting did. The board chose to pay it out
As a
with
bonus.
consultation with Wayne as a bonus, and you're referring back to the 2014 NHMA as if that's a
No, it's
cap,
actually 2016, 2017.
as if that's some sort of binding cap on town meeting, which it's not. It's a advisory that tells you this is what the salary guidelines are. So again, you may not like what the town meeting voted, but I believe, and I was at the same meeting you were, they voted to add that salary to the road agent. And the board should follow the will of the town and continue to do that.
I'm gonna go ahead, Chris?
I was at that meeting too, and I haven't been to all the meetings consecutively, but I was at that meeting too, and so what I recall, for what that's worth, is that because Wayne was transitioning from one job, from police chief, to a new job, there was a gap in terms of what that pay was. So I was of the person, and this is just me personally, I was of the understanding that whatever that gap was, that was going to take care of the gap. And then, but now that I understand, being on the budget committee, I understand that there are these unintended consequences that if you, first of all, I don't think we can encumber future budgets, because if he's now in one position, then that's like, you're kind of just starting fresh every year. So if you want to start fresh and say, okay, this is what this position is, and then you negotiate it and you put it in the budget that way, it's like a separate year. But my recollection is the reason why the 23,000 or that figure came up was because there was a gap. And so it was a way to make up that shortfall for the remainder of the budget season.
Yes, but you have to keep it in his salary.
No, cause then you're burdening future good.
You're encumbering the future budgets, and it doesn't mean that then there can't be a vote to change that position or whatever, or change the compensation.
The deal here is that it was a one-time deal to bring the chief up to a certain point.
Right.
You cannot labor the rest of the world forever because of that one vote. Period. And I would recommend that you get a legal opinion to satisfy the board members who disagree.
Yes, Carol?
Could we hear the minutes, please?
Sure.
Go ahead, Billy. Get him up, baby.
Read the minutes.
Okay, here's what it says. Motion was made by Ken Christensen and duly seconded to see if the town will appropriate the sum of $3,842,146 for general municipal operations. This article does not include appropriations in special or individual articles addressed separately. An amendment was made by Dwayne Demerit and duly seconded to increase the operating budget by the sum of $23,630 to be put into the highway budget to bring Wayne Robinson's pay up to a road agent's salary. Motion to close debate passed by voice vote. Amendment passed by voice vote. Article 2 was, as amended, passed by voice vote. Motion made and duly seconded to restrict reconsideration of Articles 1 and 2. Motion to restrict consideration passed by voice vote.
Okay, so it brought it up to road agent salary, but we agreed to do the whole 23,000 specifically for Wayne. But the road agent salary this year would be $65,775.36.
Well, that's not the road agent's salary, that's
That's
The average of
the
what
average
we
of-
should be
average,
thinking,
right.
but that may not account for overtime, whatever else. might be.
That says the operating budget for the highway for last year, you brought it up 23,000.
Right,
So once this year's over, that budget goes away, the new budget comes in.
then we have a new budget, right. Otherwise, you'd be burdened to that budget
Okay, I
going
understand.
forward every year, right?
Yeah.
So I have to figure that out, so I look at what's the pay for that job? If the pay for that job is 65,775.36, if we wanna keep that bonus in there, then how do we tie that?
So that's-
But what says we're stuck to this thing here?
Right.
Nothing.
Nothing if you
Absolutely.
if you're willing to ignore what pay does, granted, the other thing too, and a lot of these people have different certifications and.
Well, you could throw the bonus on there to a salary line, make him a $73,000 salary, you can do that, right?
Yep. Well, yeah,
Here,
you
here.
can do that.
And that just solves all the problems.
Right,
Exactly.
don't have it as a bonus, put
You
it as a
could.
salary.
Put it as
Put it
regular
in the
But
salary.
then you're also paying more for them with the position, the going rate for that position.
Because the people in town think that's what it's worth, that's what it's
That's
worth, I
what they,
mean, that,
but last year, that's why I would say that if it were me, I'd say, if we went to town meeting, I'd like to see where we say, does everyone wanna agree to give them a bonus again?
it should get the
Yeah.
taxes
But,
and tell
but
me
this
that
says
they.
to put it into his salary, so I couldn't.
That's to put it into the budget, to increase his salary to a road agent,
Yeah, it says.
increase his salary to a road agent's salary,
It says
right?
to bring Wayne Robinson's pay up to a road agent's salary. So to me, you have to leave it in, leave the money
But
in.
then again, you're
I mean,
burdening
you can-
future budgets.
You can get an opinion, but I disagree with.
You wanna reach out and get an opinion from Walter?
So that's telling us to add 23 to his budget, and then to bring his salary up to what
It
it should
says
be.
to his salary.
It doesn't say what his salary should be, though.
Well, but I believe the intent of adding that 23,000 to the highway budget was to bring Wayne's salary up 23,000.
Right.
From wherever it was. I
Yes,
don't know what
that's-
it was a year ago, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know what the salary
And-
was, but I know one of the arguments that Dwayne had was that he had given up $17,000 from the
Right.
police
And
department.
now we're gonna give him 23.
And that was one of those things at the meeting, we didn't know what the most of this position pays.
Right.
Like last year, we ended up finding out that it was $64,896. But we agreed, they gave you $23,000 at that budget.
Right.
We're gonna give you the 73,000 because putting the 23,000 on top of that, so he must have been making around 50, cause we put 23,000 on top of it.
Yeah,
Which
so
brought
that
him
was-
up to
Right.
the 73, so we gave $8,000, but we capped out he actually went over what he had, cause he's 64,90.
I believe what the discussion was when we did that last year was that we had those figures or something similar to those figures, and this is what the maximum rate was for a road agent, and the only way to get Wayne up to that $23,000 increase
Was do a
was
bonus.
to do a bonus.
Yep.
That there was no way for us to justify getting his salaries so far up above and beyond what any other road agent was making, so I think that's how we got there.
One of his options was also to take that salary at the 1,400 and whatever it was. That was
Yes.
one of his options.
Yeah, right,
At that time.
that's true.
And him and his wife declined.
Yep.
Yeah, should've taken, shouldn't have.
And we went to the salary,
Shouldn't have taken.
but we knew what the position, we also knew what the position max paid at the time. So we agreed to pay, this is the position max, this is what it pays. We're gonna agree to give you your $8,000, because that was the difference. Cause it was $23,000 was $8,000 above and beyond what the normal pay for that job is.
Well, I think before we make a decision on what we're doing going forward, we ought to get an opinion from Walter about what legally we're bound to.
I'm okay with that.
And he can look at that article and he can look at those minutes and give us an opinion and then we can make a decision.
Is that agreeable from the board?
Sure.
Yes.
So if you could do that,
Can we still go through lines on this, we're gonna go through more of the budget other than that? I have one question, I have one question on the whole budget. My question's on the mowing, we're adding money for mowing, are we not doing the outside vendor? Because, I was at the second page, I'm sorry, he's
That
in
was
it.
30,000, I left that the
Right,
same, but I
right.
didn't know what.
But last year we had none, we didn't use it.
We didn't add any money.
It's up
It is for this year coming up.
This year, I didn't add nothing. I left it at 30.
That's what it
You
was.
know,
That's what-
those
Well,
rent
what's,
tickets.
no, there's more, there's something down here.
highway wages, it's, line item.
There's a mowing thing
443,
somewhere
it's
else.
at the top.
It's not that mowing, there's another one.
It's the one at the top, wages
Oh,
for
you mean
mowing,
the,
30,000?
Highway equipment rental mowing?
Is that what that
That's,
is?
that's mowing the side of the roads.
Okay, all right.
And I did put that up, I did, it went from 7,000 to
Yes,
8,000.
that's what, all right, okay, all right.
Because
That's when they do the mowing on the side,
Right.
okay, all right, I got you, right.
That's the contractor for ASAP.
But the wage and mowing up top, that's it, that the vendor gets.
that's, yeah, right,
That's
that's
what
for
he
the,
gets.
that's the mowing there for the cemeteries and all.
That's in your budget, but that's for the vendor.
That's in my
Okay,
budget.
got it, now I'm good, all right.
Okay.
So we're doing the same thing this year as we did last year, contracting out the mowing, for all the,
That's up to you guys, and if you wanna put it out to bid, you can, if you wanna keep it with the same vendor, they're on that same price.
But we have the
I
money.
think
Well,
we ought to put it out to bid because there's some new people in it.
Yeah, you might get a better thing.
we might not.
We
Yeah,
might
but
not
you
do it.
should put it out to bid.
Okay, so that's another thing to think
All right,
When does that contract run out?
December 31st.
Oh, so you should put it out now then.
Yep.
It was, what was it, 47,000 for 2 years? 17 and 30?
Yeah. The first year was a half of the season.
So they did 30 for this past year. And did we have any issues with mowing at all, or not?
Yes.
They were good?
This
No.
year we had a
Well,
little
let's
issues
get it.
because we had a lot of rain and
Was the mowing
it's
okay
hard to
or
keep
not?
up with.
No.
We had
problems
to the
with-
cemetery, it
We had
wasn't.
problems with the cemetery.
So they mow the cemeteries? I thought Joyce wanted to do that, no?
She said she would do it, she offered to do it. but
She wanted to have some input when you put the bid out, because there's some stuff that she wanted to bring up. to
Right.
the-
Right.
So before we put a con, she would like to come in and sit with us.
Okay,
And
so if we
discuss
put
the
it out to
cemetery
bid,
mowing.
we want to engage with Joyce.
She'd like to come in, because she has a bunch of numbers and stuff that she does, and we also reimburse through the perpetual care, we give some money back.
Right,
That, and
right,
she has how much we actually give back, so,
I'm at 30,000?
yeah, we give money back out of the cemetery
right.
funds.
Not much, but
But
it used to
it's-
be a
yeah.
lot, but they came up with a new way
Yeah.
to figure it.
So we do give
So-
money back to that, out of the perpetual care. So, before we do that, she'll let you just come in and sit with us, or the cemetery trustees.
All right. So, we'll end up tabling this budget. Any other questions on this budget while Wayne's here?
Reach your price of sand and salt's all gonna be, the salt's gonna be good for next year,
Oh, yeah,
with Morton, you still got Morton?
got more.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll get those answers from Walter, so we know how to interpret that, and then the other thing I would like to look at is if we do a bonus, I'd like to know what it's tied to. And not just, here you go, here's $8,000, I think it's gotta be tied to something.
Well, we
It's
need,
tied-
we need to.
It's tied to the vote at the town meeting.
Well, the town, they can't, and that's where you're misconstrued, is I can't burden tomorrow's budget by today, tomorrow's next, years down the road by today's budget.
So let me suggest that if we're going to go forward with a bonus, that we need to come up with some criteria for what that bonus will be based on.
What it's
I
tied
think we
to.
need to wait till we get an opinion, because I personally think
But
it should have
if
been added to its salary, it shouldn't have been a bonus.
Right, well,
That
but
would
if we're,
solve the
if we're gonna
problem.
pursue the bonus angle, we need to come up with criteria for what the bonus is gonna be, what the criteria for the bonus is gonna be.
Right. And I was thinking the salary was gonna go to 65, 775, 36.
But he did go to salary and
He
not
went
time and a
to-
half either, so. I
He
mean,
went to
So
64,
$8,000
$929,
makes up the
so-
overtime for plowing, I mean, basically,
Right.
that's for plowing. Cause he loses a lot of money if you don't give that bonus with the plowing, for being on.
Oh, and I know he puts in the
Because
hours.
he's up, he's always on,
He's definitely a worker, I give him
but
credit.
he's on, salary now, so he's lost the plowing overtime money.
Karen, do you want these minutes?
That's all right.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I'll give you this too, Frank.
How's the fellowship coming?
What's that?
How's the fellowship coming?
Good.
Is it?
I was up there today.
Yeah, we got,
No, because they'll shoot me down.
At Kip's, suggestion, I went out and take a look. It's, the apron's done, the inside's done.
the apron's done, the floor's done there,
Some of the
inside the floor.
Some of the hoops are
When
up.
did they already paved or no?
Yeah, we did that all yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
so-
They came in and they started to put the roof on one of them there.
Okay, cause they're shutting down paving, or is it already shut down?
One more day.
One more day?
One more day.
So we
We're
have
done.
everything
We're
done
good.
for paving.
Well, we're
Out
good,
there.
but,
Why'd you work yesterday, it was a holiday.
oh, they wanted me down there.
Oh.
They called, I went down at 6 o'clock yesterday morning and,
Normal people. It wasn't a
Normal
holiday.
people?
It was a holiday, but I still work. So did he.
I feel a little better about the salt and sand shipments. I've seen the progress we've made.
yeah, the only thing that we those trucks have got a back they got a back, go in and then come around, and way they come around,
Oh, they're gonna be in the mud out
they're
in
gonna
front.
be in the mud. And those,
Can you put down any gravel?
those trucks, when they come in there, they may see that and they may say, we're not gonna put that in.
Can you put down gravel
Because
in there or
of,
no?
what's that?
Can we do any gravel you can throw into there or no?
They did put
Can't
gravel.
fill it wetlands.
Oh, it's wetlands.
The whole land is wet, the whole thing's in the water.
There's a lot of water.
Shoot 0 for 0.
There's a lot of water.
That's what your solar
we
thinks
think
you're
they
going
should
out.
be in that with the pavement. Come out quite a ways more with that pavement out there to make it.
Yeah, I noticed that when I went out there, it's like, okay, drove in, I saw the village, and I thought, oh, looks like pretty good, let me get a little closer.
Can I
and
get
throw-
through with my Jeep?
Oh, yeah, I got through with my car, but you're in mud and water till you get to
Till you
the
get
apron,
up
and
to the
it's like,
H.
and there's a ledge like this too, and you're like, well, so I turned around and said, okay.
How's that gonna work with you with the salt and sand?
There's
Salt
a
and
30-foot
sand.
apron in front of the building, in front of the shed,
Oh,
but I don't
the
know
shed.
if that's gonna be.
But how's that gonna work with, you still gotta back the trucks up into it?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
why
gonna
I
be,
mean,
it's
They're
gonna
gonna
be
be heavy.
full when they
Yes.
come out, they're gonna go right into that mud and go.
It's gonna be done. That's why,
How do
They
you,
have
I would
four-wheel
think
drive.
they should pay more.
Yeah,
But
something.
we
with-
know they only had so much money or whatever, I know we came out,
so what can we do?
Pave next year,
Well, no, I'm just thinking, what can he do so he doesn't destroy a truck
maybe put
or?
rocks and stuff, I don't know. You gotta
You
build
can't,
that up.
come on up.
Drainage.
Oh, well, just one thing we talked about before was, that area will all needs to get paved at some point in time. But if we put in some 1.5-inch stone or some hard pack, you know, so the trucks won't be in the mud, and bring that all the way up to the other asphalt. Because I don't know if you even have time to put down a base and then pave all that area at this
we only
point.
got one more day.
Not
to
this
close
year.
everything up.
So that might be the trick.
So we could put down gravel in that area, right?
Well, better than gravel, but Wayne
Yeah,
knows.
John Bell had some stuff that he put down, we'll talk to him, it's, I don't know if it's ground up cement, something like that, that he put down, he did put down in part of the front of that, but he didn't go all the way out with it.
See if
And that's
you
stiffened
can
it up
do something like
quite a
that.
bit, but with all that water that we got today, it's
Yeah,
just
there's a
go,
lot
the
to do.
ground goes like this,
Yeah,
even with that.
Even with my little car.
Everybody's ground
We're
is
gonna
doing it.
fill that in anyway, right?
Yeah, we're gonna pave it anyways.
We're
Yeah,
paving
it's
it anyway, so if we're paving it, why can't we put down gravel?
But can we pay?
Can we pave that area, Kip, or not?
What's area, what?
Where the trucks
it's
might
not
get
paved
stuck,
now.
are we gonna be paving that area? Was the plan to pave that area?
I believe the plan was to go from the apron and connect to the existing asphalt. And I think that's the area that we're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we thought was gonna happen, but.
As I remember, part of the problem was we were looking at how much money did we have to do, because I know the paving was like $9,000, and we went, well, we have enough in the capital reserve to go forward with the paving, we definitely needed to do that. But we didn't have enough to do the whole job this year.
So if we put down gravel,
So
Or the
the,
stuff that.
I think John went to whatever money that you guys
Right.
had, that's as far as he went.
yeah, he spent the 9. In other words, he predicted 160 feet by 26-foot
I didn't
apron.
even know what that figure was, it was between John and you guys. That's what basically what we did, but.
if we can, like Kip says, put down some gravel in that area, just make sure that we're not filling in wetlands and stuff, and we're good.
It's not in the wetland.
It's not in the wetlands,
So,
alright,
so
then we're good.
what we want you to do is get something in there so that the trucks don't sink.
I don't wanna have you lose an axle,
Oh, yeah, well, you know.
and then I'm gonna get a tow bill that my eyeball's gonna bug.
Depends on where.
Again.
So,
Yeah.
You need to goggles, the whole bill, eyeballs in. Alright,
so when are we looking at the budget?
we'll get
Just
some,
about to get back, right?
once we get something back from Karen, and then we can kinda go from there.
Well, you're not here next week, eh? Are you going?
No, I'll be leaving, Thursday morning, I won't be back to the end of next week, the
Yeah,
21st.
Just
Touch base,
That's the day before Thanksgiving, and then Thursday,
Yeah,
Friday,
that's if I
Saturday, so
make
you'll be
it
back that
back.
so
following
we'll
Monday.
touch,
So probably the
26?
Well, I don't know what
26.
time you can play, cause I think it's early, so it's gonna be bad in it.
So we'll address it on 22nd.
About coming back.
No, going down.
And then we can just like.
We have to leave at 11 o'clock in Boston,
Next Tuesday.
and then
Hopefully you'll
we
be
get
able
a couple of hours to just go out there.
Wait, go Nashville?
Yeah,
Yeah, cause it, the
but
weather's.
that's a straight one,
Yeah.
that's straight in. But the one coming back, we changed us. We thought we had a straight coming back, we gotta go to Atlanta and then go.
Oh, really, they'll be down there, that's long.
And that's not till the day before.
Alright. That works.
And,
Anything else we got?
and, just so you guys know, Dwayne will be in charge down the highway shed while I'm gone.
Okay.
And I got, Dave DeVinish, that used to work here at mowing. Right now he's not working, and, he's gonna come in, if we get any snowstorms, he's gonna come in and fill my spot. He knows the roads and.
Yeah, it's gonna snow Thursday night.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Friday,
Not much.
Friday.
We don't think it's gonna be much. But,
You'll be out of here, you don't.
all that stuff is coming.
You can just
Where are
look
you going? Hopefully warm?
I'm going to Tennessee.
Okay, well, at least you won't have any snow.
For his 40th anniversary.
40th, happy anniversary.
Have a good time.
Yep.
Good deal.
Leave your phone at home, you don't need to have it.
It'll all be here when you come back.
Yeah.
Sure will.
Yes.
Plus.
If you didn't notice,
Plus.
the state ran into Wayne last Thursday and told him that Prescott Road had to be hydro-seeded at the intersection. That was part of the plan, so Friday it was hydro-seeded and the county donated some hay to put on top of it so it didn't all wash away.
Oh, that was good.
Nice. I know it was part of the plan. Good. I haven't been over there yet. Did they finish that culvert on North Road?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
open.
So
That's open now.
Did they pave it today? It wasn't paved.
No, they didn't pay.
Well, I got tomorrow.
So they have to pave it tomorrow. If they don't pave it tomorrow, next year.
Right. Good all year.
Correct.
Yeah, most of the asphalt places close up.
Okay. That's the state.
Keep your fingers crossed.
That's their aspect on ours, so it gets torn up.
It's gonna open up, it's up when the water line in, it was supposed to start,
Well,
that's supposed to start
the way
today.
they said over the meeting, they're gonna try to do part of the water line, but they think it's gonna be too much, be at the end of the year, they ain't gonna get to it. So they're gonna try to bring the pipes down to where they have to cross the road, and then on the other side of the road, they gotta do something to bring the pipe up. And,
They'll do underneath the road
and
next year.
then they will do underneath the road next year. They didn't think they're gonna be able to do it all this year. That's the way they got it. They ain't even got all their permits done yet, so. That's why, and plus, this weather here is gonna change things for them.
Yeah, well, the ground's gonna be supposed to get 19 degrees, I think, on Thursday.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold.
It's gonna be cold and so.
Wood stove on. Good deal. All right, and I think that's it. I appreciate it. Thanks. Now we're going to the library. Library. I just turned it on.
I wanted to make sure, cause November, I don't know if I realized it was November.
November 1st. I don't turn heat up till
Yeah.
November 1st.
It's November.
And then I heat to 58.
It's the 13th, so.
And then I heat to 58. What's
Just
going on?
cross our needs as it should
Oh,
be.
sure. It's Tim and separate. I wasn't here.
He just said he heats some 58.
My wife turns the heat on. I got wood stove. I crank it
Looks like
up.
we get the
It's
money
one
for
of
the
us have
extra.
to- I'll lose some stuff.
Stone,
So, furnace
I say you go for it.
I told you, we,
Wood stove, I've only had a garbage lid once this year. It's been 58 ever since.
Was it on Saturday when it snowed?
You're down, right? How's the library people doing today? What do we got for your guys' budget? What are we doing?
because one's the right one and one's the wrong.
I'll go down there, I had the right one last.
One gives them $1.2 million to run the library, the other one is $250,000.
Where are you looking at this?
All his budgets are wrong, he's got.
Oh, I'm like, wait a minute, where do we see
Well,
one
I
point
printed
two?
mine off, because you emailed.
Yeah. They gives him the $1.2 million one here.
So you guys are up 13,000? Am I looking?
It's all
at that?
healthcare though, God, it kills you.
Yeah, the healthcare's bad.
Another big,
Oh, yeah, huge increase.
it is, that's what kills all these budgets.
Because one person didn't take benefits last year.
Ouch.
So actually, the salary, your salaries are down.
Down.
Yes.
Yep.
But it's all healthcare, huh?
And the front is what they.
We're 12,000 just on the health benefits.
10% increase too, is it, they're part of the same?
Yep.
Right, and only one person elected to out of I misspoke. I believe 2 people were a couple in 2018, and now it's family. They took the plan options.
Then you guys had a question on any impact from solar for the electricity? So they're going to $6,000? Do we?
We'll have to pay the bill, the revenue goes into a separate.
Okay, and is that, so we were 5,000, 114, so we were up from whatever they budgeted for? I see. Anybody else thoughts?
I'm ready to move it.
So you guys are doing, I'm just looking at the Wi-Fi too. What are you guys doing with the Wi-Fi?
So I actually have a question about that. We've had to up it in order to so for the last 25 years, we get free Wi-Fi.
From Comcast?
Yeah, it was AT&T then, but as the years have progressed, the free Wi-Fi has gotten
away.
slower.
Right, they're using a slower bandwidth instead of a higher one.
So in order to make it so that everyone, the staff can work, the public can work with their Wi-Fi, we've had to go up. So when is the cable contract renewed?
2020, I believe? 2019? 2020.
So is that something that we might be able to
For 2020, we would have to, we would have to hit them up, I guess, to see if they would allow us to have what band, cause they might say, yeah, we'll give you free, but then that's gonna be the next question is, at what bandwidth?
Well, we had 25 megabytes per second over 5, download versus upload. And we went up to 75 over 15, which is good for 3 to 8 computers.
And so you guys been paying for it yourselves?
So, yeah, now, yeah.
So do they still provide some free Wi-Fi, or what do they have?
The town gets one free account, you can put it wherever you, in whichever building you choose.
Okay, so we only get one free account? Something to negotiate, I guess. Alright, any other thoughts or discussions?
Yep.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move the library budget at $250,000.
Could I just ask a question, Bob?
Sure.
Did I mishear you? Did you say that there is no increase in the salaries?
Salaries has actually dropped, it's the benefits.
And why is that? Could I ask that question?
New employees.
New employees.
Okay, so is that saying that none of the employees that have been there for as long as they have are not getting a raise? Is that correct?
I think last year that, they were all given raises.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Okay,
No, there's still raises in there.
all right, thanks.
It's just you got new people, so the whole overall salary
Yep.
line is down.
Okay.
Alright, go ahead.
Motion that we take the library budget and bottom line is $258,985.97.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
at this point, I would like to say that we should recognize Liz for her win last Tuesday.
Library people here, I just have a question for you. As an insurance person doing something, what temperature would you be painting outside? Cause I walked out of my house the other morning and it was like 35 degrees outside and they were painting.
You do not paint when it's lower than 50. Lower than 50, your paint will not adhere properly. It will be peeling off shortly. It's a short-lived measurement, so hopefully they give you a guarantee, because what happens is it doesn't adhere. So what's gonna happen is it's not gonna seal properly, and you're gonna end up having a problem down the road. You should have, your temperature should not be below 50 degrees.
But isn't CertaPro a professional company? That's the one that I saw there.
Yeah, they're the ones.
Wow. How
So
come they don't know
I
that?
would definitely check to see if their guarantee, what's their guarantee? Because if this thing starts to peel next year,
Well, they'll be coming back.
Yeah.
so, you know, I mean, you should be sitting there,
In the spring.
anytime you paint, you know, the temperature should stay at least 50, because it has to dry and it has to cure properly. It's not gonna do that. Also, the other thing too is you get, when you're painting on something that's cold, like the wood heats up, then it gets condensation and stuff that builds up in there, so that moisture that gets trapped behind there on a latex paint, it's gonna peel off. So if they're painting at 30 degrees.
To address.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will be getting an additional memo, you know, from
Oh, what do we have with the roof?
It says on the roof, what's this for the roof?
Yeah, well, that's it, we cut.
I saw that note.
It's the other not included. We walked in one morning and, there was a
This
nice
is
little
the,
wet spot.
children's room, so we got some quotes. Pride Roofing was the lowest.
Yeah, I thought you already had somebody that was, you had in mind, right?
Yeah.
What do we have in the special for that?
Yep, I didn't count it, but that's the
There's
final.
maintenance money.
Karen says we have money in capital reserve, that's,
It doesn't mean it's the
when would they be able to do that?
Well, they called me about 2 weeks ago asking where that was, but we were still
Waiting.
pending.
Well, we don't know what we're gonna find underneath.
Yeah, there's
What
some,
was their quote, was it like 13?
$1178
Oh, you
with
did
additional
yeah,
100 for
yeah.
ice and water shed.
right, and then there's a couple things in there, like if they find only one layer of tiles, then it would go down in price. If they find other conditions, it would go up, so there's some flexibility in that.
Which
based on what
section's
they
leaking?
find.
Is it the new section?
No,
The old.
old,
Three sections.
So Jeff had gone out, he did an eBay deal to get the square footage measurements, and then that's one on what he thinks it would cost.
What was his number? I never saw it on there.
He said it was gonna be $7,700 square foot, that's what he
No.
predicted. Doesn't insurance cover it?
That was the.
That's what he thought.
Yeah.
Expected.
it'll cut it. See,
Do you remember when the last time we did that was?
I'll pay for the seal 10 times.
Guess it was a little while ago.
It was a
I
big-
remember us doing some roof a little while ago, I just don't remember which.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was
that
that was
the
not,
other- that was the other-
That's the rating,
that was
that's
the
the
other
merit.
side.
And that one's fine? You're not touching that, or is that all?
No, no, it's done,
That's good.
that's done.
Okay,
This is just for that portion of the original building.
okay. Well, we have the money in the capital reserve. What's everyone's thoughts?
Maybe
Pleasure of the
go
board.
forward with the rain.
We can't let it leak.
Yeah.
No, come on, we gotta get it.
It'll plug up the leaks.
Do we have a motion? And which price are we looking at? With the 1,200 on top of that? So it would be, $12,988.
That's
Cause I
the
have to,
maximum.
that's the max, cause you gotta put 1,200 for ice and water shed.
But it might be lower than that.
So,
Well,
do you wanna,
be optimistic.
somebody wanna make a motion not to expend more than 13,000?
Be optimistic about that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, I'm gonna be out of the capital reserve. Here you guys go.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
May I bring up something up to you guys?
All in favor? I just wanna make sure I got all in favor. Aye. Anybody opposed? Very good.
I have a separate kind of budget for which you have no paperwork.
Okay.
May I have 2 minutes? This is about the newsletter. And I did write a memorandum, and I have, Robin's okay on it. What we'd like to have is, because I didn't pass that one, I didn't bring one.
You already have a photocopy?
The,
160 feet by
Does
20.
everyone want a copy, or I can run a copy?
it's not very hard, not very tough.
Brentwood newsletter respectfully asks for a full year budget of $10,200 for the calendar year 2019. This is down $800, 7.7% from the budget of $11,000 for 2018. Do we know what have we spent so far?
9,500.
Okay.
So moved. That's all I'm saying.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go. Do you want a copy of this, or?
Oh, you keep it.
We can leave it. Sweet. Thanks for reducing the budget. I like that reduction.
Thank you very much.
That was quick and easy. Less than 2 minutes, I think.
Yeah, wow, time's fabulous.
How much is it?
I thought you were gonna say something.
Is everyone happy?
I don't know if anybody else is getting it. It's usually when they scan the room, don't they? Any other matter?
I don't know, 111,000? You know, you get done. It's good, whatever they do.
Okay, we're on to Karen's budget.
So then we get 4% salary increase, and then there's increase in health insurance with the 10% increase there for the rates from Health Trust, and then the training line is down as CPM is, I'll graduate from CPM in June.
Just have the hourly figure for.
Yeah, oh yeah, how much they make an hour?
And these salaries include Gloria too, right?
No.
No,
Oh,
separate.
this is just you,
That's
okay.
separate, yeah, so it's 3463 to 36.
What is it?
3463 to 36.
36 even?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many hours a week?
Well, it's based off of 40, but
She's salary.
I'm salary, so I'm pretty sure that's getting that.
I point out that she comes to the things that we need her there, even when we don't know if we need her or not.
It's 4% raise, that's reasonable, cause we set a range of 3 to 4%. I know she goes above and beyond, so.
She was here in the rain for this.
She was here last night, by the way, just so you know,
And
for a long time.
the big thing is the majority of this is your health insurance, which can't do anything about that. It's so expensive, huh? Why was it, this year is only 15?
Well, that's what was expended as
That's-
of September.
Oh, this is September,
This is
oh,
what was
okay.
budgeted.
Yeah, I was looking at the actuals. Alright, any discussion?
I don't think so.
I'll make a motion, we accept that 74,165.
No, you gotta go down to the bottom.
Oh, the whole thing?
Otherwise you're getting rid of her benefits,
I'm sorry.
training and everything else.
All right, I'll make a motion, 111,537 for the administrative salary for the administrator's office.
Alright, do I have a second?
Not the salary, the.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm still second at cost.
You got books, you got books and everything else in there.
Yeah, everything.
Alright,
Alright, and I had a second?
yeah, that's it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You good to go?
Thank you.
Put an extra in now, that one's done. That one's done.
I have a folder with all the budget.
I did that my first few years, and I guess I had like a whole lot of years.
Yes, me too.
It's all on the computer online.
Since I knew you did that, I didn't even need
Hey,
it.
Do I have a motion?
I was just gonna say, we don't agree
For
on
911?
We did.
Stay 2 minutes.
Okay, all right. I'll sit next to
Information
Chris.
we have, it was
Be
from
good.
Kelly Wilson and Don Lee.
That's not what I hear.
Should you have somebody else?
Well, this is only when like mapping discrepancies
Okay,
happen,
well,
this is just to take
okay.
care of the administrative.
Alright,
So you too.
I think maybe a new girl too.
Who's better?
Second.
Oh, Tracy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have anything else in public?
Well, first I met with Fremont TV last week. They started the same way we're looking at, with just a camera on a tripod.
Yep.
Kinda like what you has, but a real camera. They have wired mics on the table. They have wired mics on the table. I originally thought it would look crappy, and they actually do a good job of, the wires aren't that big, they're smaller than a cable
I know
wire.
the candy dish, you don't see it.
So I contacted their vendor, and we're waiting for some information from their vendor as well, but it's pretty close to the plan that our committee put together,
The first time.
except the mics are different, but,
So about 3,000 to 4,000.
yeah.
So, and we have the money for that, don't we?
We should be able to take it out of capital reserve.
Yeah.
Not capital reserve, but, impact.
Impact fees, right? And, if I remember, we were gonna look into a new table kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, that's
Maybe we
right.
could just drill a hole in the new table as soon as we get it and put the wires down the hole,
Or you get.
Well, the other thing,
the table with the hole.
the other thing they do, which is kinda interesting, is they just have a banquet tables from, they said they bought them at Sam, but they put, cloth on them, so they don't look like banquet tables,
Yeah, yeah.
but, I mean, a conference room setup is gonna cost us like $5,000.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't need to do that.
So, but I also know somebody in the used office furniture business, and I reached out to them to look at the stuff cheap.
So, with their camera setup, do they have somebody that runs the
They have
camera?
to have somebody run it,
So
yes.
are we gonna,
We'll have to budget for that next year. They pay a stipend, because there's time, depending on how long the movie, so they do, I think it was like $30 to $50, depending on time of meeting, that the person gets, instead of an hourly rate.
okay. So we could look into somebody that's maybe experienced that wants to do that.
If you're looking at me, I nominate one of the selectmen to push the button.
I would push the button.
You can
I'm cheap in my
Are you gonna
budget
get
for
money
out
for
lobster
that?
and bucks, so I probably.
So that's all they have to do is start
Well,
it up
I don't need
again.
a part-time.
That's what they used to have somebody run it so they could move it, zoom in on whoever was talking, whatever.
We don't need to.
Now they actually have a setup like Exeter with the
just-
cameras,
oh,
and a
so it's
ceiling and a switching
Oh, so
room
they've
and
gone
all
big
that,
time.
yeah.
We have
Well,
a
we-
person turn the camera on and then do the minutes and then turn it off.
Yeah, we could do that. And get $50 so.
We should get the budget committee should be recorded
That's how
too.
it frees up my
I'm gonna reach out to
budget.
Kathy, since Kathy's raising her hand.
Yeah, my only concern about the microphones on the table is from a planning board perspective. I don't know if mics can be put someplace else because the table's typically covered with 32 by 28 inch plans, and I usually have 4 of them, and the table's usually covered with those. And I can just imagine the noise every time somebody
Oh,
flips a
yeah.
page and everything, so I don't know
Well,
if
you
this,
turn on and off, right?
defeat the purpose. I don't know if,
Right.
I don't know how it works, whether cameras can be hung from, microphones can be hung from someplace else, or if they can be off the table. But before you go drilling holes in anything you might wanna purchase, the planning board is a 7-member board. We have 3 alternates, I should say, plus myself, so there were sometimes 11 people at that table. Planning board
know
cannot
what
work
these-
with microphones on the table.
Other towns do, so, I mean,
Yeah, see how they
How about the
function,
rest of them,
Andy,
like
that's all I'm
microphones
saying, I think it's a great thing.
Fremont uses the things on the table when they're conference room, they're small, not as wide as this, so.
Yeah,
And that's where they have their meetings, so, but I
Just a
agree, it's
thought,
something
yeah.
to look at.
yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Good idea.
I got a few items. Can I approach the bench?
Sure. Harry Mason with you, or you by yourself?
Come on in.
Oh.
Sure, what can do for you?
First, Prescott Road, thank you very much. I think it came very well.
It's finally done?
Well, I don't think it's done.
Okay.
I don't think it'll ever be finished.
Well, did they put up the guardrails?
Guardrails
No,
can
the
need to go up,
guardrails
and it probably needs to finish coat at some point,
Yeah,
'cause
so
it's,
Okay.
Speed is still an issue. I guess you're working on some issues with speed and getting a speed radar like they have in front of the county.
Speed sign or something like that, yeah.
Just to tell people how fast they're going.
They're gonna put the big net at Frank's place when they come down from your house. There's a big net to catch them, and they're going to Frank's lawn. That's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, they're gonna do that.
Well, and that's what I've been hitting, some of the negative things.
And all the brush is gone, all the brush is gone now too, so. Yeah, it is awful dark there.
Put some white lines or something, there needs, and
It
some
needs a stop
signs,
line, a
you know,
white
this,
stop line.
so that's why it's not finished.
Yeah.
It still needs some,
It's paved.
some doing, it's paved.
Okay.
And I can see the intersection from my driveway now, which I never could, so.
So that's good.
Leaving my driveway is a lot safer. Going down the road, it's not so safe. But I can get out of my
But
driveway.
it hasn't changed from before.
What do you mean?
The
Can you,
configuration of the road's the
check
same
the
as it
Is that
was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, come on up. Talking about your road.
I know.
My eyes are getting really bad.
Wayne's
Wayne's
gonna-
always
tired.
Wayne's gonna-
He's out in the dark.
He's
Well,
in the
hard
It's
work.
in the dark.
But that's all I got on Prescott Road. That's it. It's
Now
almost
you can
done.
go.
I wanna answer one of your questions.
Okay.
Talking to the state the other day, that white line that you're talking about, they're not gonna put that white line down until they get that water line across, because that whole end of that road is gonna be
Changed.
dug up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all changed and they're gonna replace the whole thing. So I did ask the state guy while it was there, because he told me about putting the white line there, stop sign and everything. And he told me we needed to put a white line there. I said, well, let me ask you this, you're gonna tear this all up, so I don't wanna spend the money to put a white line and then have it all taken back up. He said, oh, you're waiting on that. So,
Okay.
that's
You know what, Elias?
on the white line, that's.
Unless you wanna get a can of spray paint, make a
And
white
that might
line.
not get done to next year, because I'm gonna put the line across.
It'll never be finished. I told you. Okay. Thank you.
How much does it cost for the white line?
I have no idea. And that's gonna be a special white line. He named something, I'll have to find out from the state of what it is, cause it's something different.
Are they
It's
kicking in some
not-
It's a reflector.
Are they kicking in some?
I don't know, I wanted to find out, because actually, if you come right down to the whole nitty gritty of that thing
That's
over there,
them.
that's the state,
Yeah.
not
that's
us. That intersection doesn't belong to us.
Which is why we had to get a state permit. And-
Right, so they
Yeah.
should provide that marking down there since it's their responsibility.
See
I'll
Kathy raising her
look into
hand,
that.
so yes, Kathy?
As far as with the water line, it would be my planning board assumption that the developer will pay for the tear up and the repair, which would include the white line that would have to be replaced. It should be at no cost to the town if the white line has to be put down next spring. Because when the developer does whatever he does,
Yes.
he's responsible for all that work.
To put it back the way it was.
Absolutely.
But if it's state responsibility, they should pay for it.
Not,
And they will in 2034.
not when the
35, okay,
developer,
good, we're on.
35.
any work that the developer does, he's going to have to make it the way it was. So if the white line we'll put down now, and when the water line gets put in next spring, or whenever it gets dug up,
Yep.
the developer's gotta put that road back the way it was, including the line.
But we're at the same spot as building painting, do we wanna throw? What temperature can we paint the roadway and have it?
50.
It's gonna be nice
Won't be
tomorrow,
this
I
year.
believe, right?
Won't be this year.
I mean, Bill's right, because I go down there at night, and like tonight, I
hard
left
to
here
see.
at 5, after 5, and it's dark. There are red reflectors to get onto North Road, there are red reflectors in the shoulder, or off the shoulder on the right side. There's really nothing on the left side, and I know when to stop because I know when to stop. But if the road is new to me, I think it's dangerous. I think Bill's right, I think the white line should be down there.
See how much it costs.
Yeah, can you check that out? See how quick they can get down here, cause that's another problem too, is if we put it down, it's gonna peel right off. I don't know how that,
It's supposed to snow Thursday night.
I know, tomorrow's supposed to be
Yeah, do
really
it
warm,
tomorrow.
so I'm willing to get a can of spray paint if people are okay with it. I'll spray it myself, it might look interesting, but.
I'll try to find out what kind of paint it uses. I know there's a name
It's
that's
a
called.
specific reflective tape, I'm assuming.
It might be on the permit too, I don't know.
Well,
It should be a permit.
Just for now, temporarily, we could put anything down as long as it's white and reflective.
Well, the paint touch small.
Well, you need a white reflective paint because it wouldn't.
We'll get somebody to put it down.
Yeah,
the
as long
white
as
flex
it's
all
something there,
tape,
cause
just
if
stick
the
it
builder has to put it back anyway.
Yeah, right.
You get that 4-inch flex all tape, 8 inches. That flex seal tape, you get some of that. That fixed everything. You get the white, run it out.
And it'll stick even more.
Everybody's checking it out now.
By the
And then,
wall.
Karen has,
check it. 8 inches.
Wayne, before you leave, Karen had a question?
I got a complaint about the land over on Hague Road by the Wilson's property, and a lot of trash and cans down there over by the conservation easement. So Jeff Donald went down there, so I don't know what the board is doing about trying to get that cleaned up.
Is it Breeze Trail, was that about?
Breezeway, yeah.
Breezeway,
It's
yeah,
down over
yeah.
down that one, there's a lot of beer cans and other things.
Well, we on Hague Road?
That little park they put in for the,
Jeff Donald was down at the
Oh,
other day.
that little park right there on the right.
Somebody, weren't you in the other day and said somebody was looking for some community service?
Oh, yeah, we got a guy coming for that, we'll give him.
Perfect, that's awesome. There you go.
I don't know when he's coming, cause he had to go see his, probation officer.
Picking up cans on the side of the road.
He's got some hours to do.
There you go, perfect job for him.
Good deal.
Good deal.
Yep.
And what else do we have for you, sir?
What else we have? Oh.
I need one.
We're good.
I don't want to get.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Proposal to increase the veterans tax credit to the Brentwood Board of Selectmen. This is a proposal to see if the town of Brentwood will increase the veterans tax credit. When the town looks into increasing the salaries of its employees, it looks at surrounding towns to see what they pay. And Brentwood usually makes an increase. And as you talked about tonight, the road agent, the building inspector, you're bringing them up to do your research. As you can see from the chart, the surrounding towns give more of a tax credit than Brentwood. And as I understand, the max has been increased from 500 to 750. We are at 400, Fremont's at 500, Exeter's at 500, Epping's at 500, all the towns in Rockingham County. Of all the towns in Rockingham County, which is 37, only 3 towns are less than Brentwood. We're 4 from the bottom. The rest, the 32 towns are at the max of 500. These figures are all from 2016. So to bring us within what other towns are giving, I think Brentwood should get closer to the max than we are now.
And that has to be a warrant on.
Yeah, I would do a warrant on it.
Yeah, it has to be a
Well,
warrant.
it has to be a warrant article.
So there goes $500.
Thank you.
That sounds like we should get it.
So the
Ken gets a tax
The
credit.
500 is for Fremont, actually.
Yeah, the increase just go up to 250, but I don't think it's effective until next year.
I know he likes a copy for the gallery.
This is what's gonna cost us to go to the 750, it's gonna cost us $95,000 too. Right now, we're giving away 50. You're gonna back it to 70, you're gonna, that's what you wanna.
No, he said 500.
But you're selling the max at 750.
To the max,
Oh, okay.
or an increase. I'm hoping for an increase.
So all your budget guys, here's $95,000 you won't have for taxes, just let you know that.
That's a house.
We're gonna have all those new houses over at.
Well, I'm just telling you,
Yeah, but that's.
you're ready to
not
give
for
to where it
public
goes, then you won't complain later.
That's a house in 300
There's
away.
currently 127
Yep, yep.
veterans in Brentwood.
It's not against it, that's it, it's a big number change.
Run some
You
numbers.
I would have to recuse myself.
Run,
can't, we can't vote.
5, 6, 7, and a little.
I'm not against that, I'm just saying.
It's already wrapped.
We screamed, I wasn't, I wasn't old enough, I missed it all.
I got drafted.
Yeah, you're an old man, I'm young.
Come on, I
Yeah.
can't recuse myself.
No, you don't have to.
So, wherever it goes from here, that's a proposal. I'm hoping to get some legs and.
it'll be on the warrant.
It'll have to go on the warrant.
Okay.
It will go
Town
on the
meeting.
town meeting.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we're
This
gonna decide.
information, it's not 95,000, because we're already doing.
Oh, what, so, but.
Wow.
So it's another 45.
Veterans Day was just 2 days ago, already you're making it better.
No, I'm not, no, I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're screaming about $2 here, and then you're gonna have to pay 45.
I have CQ on Thursday, and then I have one more Christmas Eve is a Monday.
Do you have to write the warrant article?
On Monday.
They're gonna
They
win.
should.
Alright, okay, just checking.
They said, yeah, they should make it.
They should.
Nice, can I leave now?
Yes, thank you, Steve.
Thank you. By the way,
Cheaper to keep it
I'll put the petition together.
Have a day.
I would agree with that.
What was the other?
Mr. Chairman?
They're gonna make
They're gonna do the warrant article.
It's already in the budget, so they should get.
You got a 5-day.
Bob Humbug.
Why don't they give away the Friday
No, I
after
said Bob
Thanksgiving back?
Humbug.
Wait a minute, did I miss, is that the only thing that you wanted?
Could you clarify for those of us in the audience, are the selectmen gonna sponsor that warrant article by consensus?
Yes.
Yes, we just gotta get some numbers.
We haven't figured what
The number will be,
And the law just changed, so we have to figure out, it's changing next year, so we gotta figure
as
out.
long as Mr. Pelleshi doesn't have to write the warrant article, that was my
He
question.
doesn't have to worry.
Okay, okay.
We're gonna submit it.
I'd like to
Okay.
recommend that we go to the maximum immediately.
Okay, well, the maximum today is
Maximum's
500.
500, so.
Next
Well,
year
let's
is
wait until 7:50.
Relax.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Everybody in the audience?
You guys on public.
Audience.
All right, any other input from the public?
Yeah, what was the deal on Christmas Eve? I didn't, I
Yeah, we're
missed
gonna
that.
close.
Monday,
Monday,
the office closed.
The office is closed
With
on
pay?
Monday.
Well, you're retiring, so, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm asking for the others.
Monday is closed with pay.
So sorry, so sad, you're retiring. We don't
I
see
believe
you.
it's with the bank, yes.
Should be, thank you.
Christmas Eve?
Anyways.
Christmas Eve is Monday.
That time off.
Please have a different.
They have a different zone for fire, they have a different. They can't be all the, only the
Not essential and not emergency.
They're going to the top pretty quick.
Karen, how many more days she's in the military, so she chooses?
Well, there's 19 through the whole year, and I think that's done. So, I mean, it's basically 2 a month until June.
Oh,
Any of the.
can we get a,
Process, believe me, walking around and, you know,
Not just yours,
people
everybody.
are busy.
That's here.
I told you, yes, I told you.
Yeah, just kind of an idea. You can email
Pardon me, good to see you, Chris.
Yeah, same
Liz,
here.
congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Have a good vacation, Wayne.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because-
So that's a good thing.
Anything else? She had. Oh, all right.
Okay, so that was easy answer.
Thanks, that's awesome.
Public comment, and we can go into.
Public comment?
I just have one quick thing, on the impact fees. Can I talk about the impact fees for a second?
Sure.
Okay. So I don't know if anybody was here, maybe David, you were here, maybe you were here when, way back when, so I was on the committee for the planning board that put together the impact fees. So I just wanted to address a couple different points because on the budget committee, a couple things came up, which, number one, if there's an existing bond, so like, for example, if.
3 pounds,
What?
3 pounds, for example.
Okay, well, if there's an existing bond, okay, so there's debt, capital impact fees can be used to pay for the debt, and the intention was to pay for that debt first, and once that debt is gone, if there's any other capital equipment or whatever, then, so it's almost, so that was the intention, was to reduce the impact of that current fiscal year if there was already a bond on it. The second thing is that every year there should be some type of adjustment so that it reflects the fact that impact fees don't stay stagnant. They need to change with, you know, fees or increasing or whatever.
Do we do that?
So yeah, so I just didn't know because somebody asked what is it at and all this other stuff, and so and then the impact fees get allocated based on the various departments. So somebody had asked, because again, this was the original intention of all this capital impact stuff, is that if departments are using capital impact fees and saying, ooh, you know, that's like my little pocket for something extra, it's really not intended for anything extra until all of the debt and the basics have been covered. So if there's a bond at the fire station, so the intention is reduce that, and then it can go into something different. Is that, so I just wanted to make that comment.
You did it for 16 and 17, you used the impact fees to pay for the bond payments for the fire station. Then the fund became so depleted, it built back up in 2018, so none of the 2018 impact fees was used to apply that bond. So then you used it to offset, with that they did the upgrade for the server and computers at the fire station, and now it's sort of replenished itself.
But it's, so I'm just gonna, so even if there's nothing in, or very little, it should just still be used until the bond is gone and not for really anything else, you know what I mean? That's
So
just the
you
intention.
exhaust that pocket of money towards the bond first,
Exactly, yep,
and if that's gone, then there is no impact dollars for other stuff.
that's correct. So it's, yeah, so you can't think of it as like, oh, great, now.
Slush fund.
Yeah, it's not like a capital slush fund, it's really, the whole idea was, you know, that whenever you have to have a bond, it's putting additional burden on the current voters who might not get the full use of whatever. So the capital impact fee would help to reduce the current burden for that period of time.
Is there an impact fee for the schools too, or?
Yes,
Yes.
so there
Yeah.
should be, so
Yeah, there is.
each, so each department, so that's, so you have
So
a
if there's
capital,
no, if there's no outstanding debt for a department,
right,
we can allocate that money for
Servers.
services or upgrades or
capital,
whatever.
capital.
Well, yeah,
It has to
It
be a
can't be
capital
just-
equipment, and I don't know if,
like radios for the police department, for example.
that might not
Might
be
not
considered
qualify?
capital, because I think a piece of capital equipment, there's like an accounting term that it has to have a life of a certain amount, and I think unfortunately, hardware and software in this day only last, you know, less than 3 years, that might not be considered capital, I guess that's what I'm saying, so. But I do believe you can, if the capital impact fee is being saved up in a fund, that doesn't get expended for, like, let's just say the library, okay, let's say there's no bond on the library or whatever. And let's say but like a roof would be like a capital, if they needed a new roof, that would be considered a capital improvement.
Right.
Repair would not be, so you see how there's like that difference. But my understanding is that you can save up your capital impact fees for, I think, no more than 2 or 3 years. Because then the intention is that if you're not using it, then you technically have to kinda like give it back. So that's where you have to watch it, and then so for, it's a period of time, yeah, so as long as you're like keeping track of that, people had questions, and if I could somehow clarify that, cause.
So if we got to the end of a period, for example, could we move that money from one department to another, retire debt at the other department?
Technically, no.
Okay. So it has to
No.
be used in that department for capital.
And all departments have it except for highway.
Really? Why is that?
Because infrastructure is not considered capital. So like the roads, culverts.
Isn't that crazy, because that's a,
That's
you know
so
what I mean?
expensive.
Isn't that, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I personally.
So Wayne, you're getting shafted on that one.
I know.
What?
I think they should go away, the impact fees. I never thought.
Well, no, because there is an
There's an
impact when, for example,
Yeah.
what do you think the impact's gonna be at Three Ponds when they put all those houses in there?
Yeah, but
Is there gonna be more police
they don't
protection
pay
needed?
impact
Is
fee,
it what?
they don't pay impact fees because it's over 55.
They do, they don't pay,
We're gonna have to add another truck.
they still pay,
They have
Tell you
to-
that.
they still pay it
So
for
there
fire.
is definitely an
Fire
impact
play.
when you have
Okay, all right.
a.
Cause you have to
when
you know,
a
you have to buy
development like
another
that,
police,
another truck,
yeah,
another
another
plow,
fire truck, and
whatever.
I didn't
Right.
think they
It's just
paid
not the
that.
school portion, they get a reduced portion.
Oh, okay.
So they're still paying,
They get a reduced portion for the school or not?
They don't pay the school.
They don't pay the
They don't
school.
pay the school.
and
Not
Phyllis,
even
the
kids.
person who put together the whole impact fee did it for free. See?
There you go.
You didn't charge anything for that. So anyways, no, it's the
What were you,
truth.
about 13 when you did that?
I know, I know. I think that was it was
Alright.
before 9/11, so.
Anything else from the public?
Alright, that's it.
I'm just curious, what is the oversight for the impact fee money? Ultimately, the selectmen are gonna decide how it gets spent? Or is there some
Within the
oversight by the
parameters
budget
that
committee?
we're allowed to operate in.
Legally.
I'm gonna ask that question on the budget committee, cause I mean, I'm new on the budget committee, but
We can't just willy-nilly use the money, there are parameters we have to stay within.
Yeah,
to be
there's
able
a
to do
whole
that.
bunch of.
I'm only asking the question because I've heard
No, I
several
understand.
times since March, the selectmen said we're gonna pay for that out of
Out of
impact
impact
fees, and I'm being educated tonight saying, well, there's only specific things that you can spend it on.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a bond for the town office building or something that we should be paying for
First, right. Correct.
And that's why the question's being asked. Because we're not bond free, are we, as a town?
Not for this building. For this building, we are. The fire station still is a bond, but the impact fees for the fire station portion have been used to reduce that debt. The planning board contracts with Bruce Mayberry to create the impact fee study, and that's what it designated, you know, what is the fee and how is it apportioned between the different departments.
Yeah.
And then the board of selectmen is up to them, and everybody contributes to the capital improvements plan through the planning board, and we update that annually on what expenses we expect to come down the pike. And how we
That's
expect
good.
to spend that
That's
money.
being done annually. That's good.
You know what, I know, Ken Christensen just gave a shout out, which thank you so much, as your new representative, but I didn't know if you guys keep minutes and you wanted to just, mention and thank Alan Cook for having served as our previous rep for the last 2 terms.
I would recommend that.
Second.
Did Eric win?
No, he won in Brentwood, but he lost in
Right,
Danville.
right, I know we won in Brentwood, but I never saw the results and it was.
Yeah, and there's a recount for the, Senate, for John Morgan.
Right.
Really? Was that close?
It was that close, he only won by less than 100 votes and 25,000 votes cast, ballots cast, so, yeah, it was
Alright,
close.
good deal, anything else? And we have to go into non-public. Make a motion to go into non-public.
Today, you're kidding me. Oh, you know when we mail those?
Alright, so we're making a motion to go non-public?
Right.
Came in
Do
no
roll call?
Really?
That's crazy. Yeah, last week I got mail, I live at 52, I got mail for 50.